It's tiring because it requires movement of the lens, and that movement of the lens requires activation of muscles. And the activation of muscles, as you know from the physical performance episodes, if you saw them and even if you don't, is dictated by neurons. So what is accommodation? Well, it's actually very simple and very elegant. And again, this is another case where whenever I look at this stuff, even though I've been looking at it for years, learning about it for years, it still boggles my mind that we have these apparati built into our eyes. So we have lenses in our eyes, and we have these things called the irises. You know, you're all familiar with the iris because you'll see people's pupils get bigger or smaller, and we intuitively think of eyes as having the pupils. If you actually draw two circles on a sheet of paper, and they look like two circles. But if you put little dots in the middle of them, they look like eyes. Your brain recognizes those as eyes because one of the first things you see when you come into this world are eyes. And actually, if you put the little dots close together, it'll look kind of wrong, like it's cross-eyed. And if you put them at different locations within those two dots, opposing locations, it'll look Google-eyed. And so your brain is actually filling in all the face and other information, even emotional information, just based on this recognition of eyes. And so there's clearly, we know this, there's real estate deep up, further up in the brain that's responsible for analyzing and recognizing faces, and the eyes and the position of these little things we call irises and pupils, et cetera, is really important for how we interpret the status of others. And that's why it's such a powerful thing just to put two circles and, move the pupils around on paper. In fact, I want to get into accommodation, but if you think about it, if one of my pupils was up there and the other one was down there, one was really big and one was really small, that would actually be a sign of pretty severe damage. If someone gets hit hard on the side of the head, you'll notice that they shine a light in one eye. You know what they're doing that? They're actually looking at the other eye. When you shine light of the eye, that pupil constricts to limit the amount of light that comes in so it doesn't damage the eye. This also happens when you walk outside and it's bright. It constricts, but we have what's called the consensual pupil reflex. There's a connection deep in the brainstem, deep back here in the brain near my neck, that connects the pupil mechanism for the two eyes, and they're looking at the other eye. And if you shine light in one eye and that pupil constricts but the other one doesn't, there's a good chance there's brainstem damage. This is what they do on the side of a football field or a boxing match, or if someone unfortunately hits their head. So two pupils, and don't freak out if one pupil is a little bit smaller than the others. That doesn't necessarily mean brain damage. But if you suddenly have one pupil bigger than the other, you absolutely want to go see a neurologist right away. So the eyes and the pupils are indicative of things that are happening deep in the brain. Now, accommodation